Hi everybody and happy World Book Day! I hope you've managed to read a story today. If you haven't, make sure you do by the end of the day because we can't have World Book Day without you reading a story, can we? Right, in our literacy lesson today, we are going to learn about speech bubbles and we're going to learn how to write a speech bubble. So, let's have a look what a speech bubble looks like first of all. This is what a speech bubble looks like. Okay, so you have your character and there's a big bubble coming out of the character's mouth and it will have writing inside telling us what the character is saying. Okay, so if you think back to yesterday and the day before when we talked about telling stories, we said that you have a narrator. A narrator is the person who tells the story, but you also have characters that speak in the story too. And then you can have speech bubbles coming out of the character's mouth so we know exactly what they are saying. Now then, today we're going to write a speech bubble. And I want you to try and write a speech bubble to go with one of the characters in the story that you made up. You might even want to make a speech bubble for the super veggie that you made yesterday if you got a chance to make one. If you didn't make one, don't worry. What you can do is you could draw a character from your story and we can just draw a big speech bubble coming out of his mouth. So I'm going to ask your grown-ups to cut you out some big paper in the shape of a speech bubble because that's going to help you out. It's going to give you lots of room for your writing. Sometimes the tricky thing about writing speech bubbles is if you only draw a small bubble and then realise you want to put a lot of writing in, sometimes it doesn't all squeeze in, which can be a pain. So if your grown-ups make you a really big bubble, that will be great because you'll have lots of room for your writing then. Right, I'm going to put my super veggie down for a minute. And I'm going to show you how to write a speech bubble. In fact, before I even bring this over, I want us to recap what's important when we do our writing. Okay, so the first thing we always need to remember is to start with a capital letter. And at school we go like that, don't we, for capital letter. The second thing I want you to remember are your finger spaces. They're really important too. Now, normally I would say sit your letters on the line, but we don't always have lines when we write speech bubbles. Sometimes we just write in the space that we can see. And then we need to remember our really, really good spelling, don't we? Where we use our phonics to help us. And now you have learned all of your phase 3 sounds from Mrs. Petey. You'll be able to use your phonics to spell any word you like. Might not be spelt correctly, but you can have a really good go at it. And then finally, at the end, we need to remember our full stop. It might not be a full stop in a speech bubble though. We might decide to use a shouting stick, especially if our character is shouting over to somebody and using a big voice. Or do you remember the posh name for it? An exclamation mark. That's right. Okay, so I'm having to think about my story from yesterday and the day before. And do you remember that Evil P tricked all the veggies and Super Potato into going to his pool party, which was actually a pool full of jelly? So I'm going to do a speech bubble for the Evil P, inviting the veggies to his pool party. And then I'm going to do a speech bubble for Super Potato shouting, "Help, I'm stuck." Okay, should we give it a try? Right, here we go. So I'm going to pull my board over to the screen now. And let's give this a try. So I've got to start over here with a capital letter, haven't I? I'm going to write inside my speech bubble. And I'm going to start by saying, come to my pool party, because that's what the Evil P says to the veggies, doesn't he? He says, come to my pool party. So I'm going to start with the word come. Now then, come is a word that you could try and sound out, k or but actually it's a tricky word. We spell come, It's crazy, isn't it? So I'm going to show you the tricky spelling of come. It's like this, k with a curly, capital one, A, come, and then I'm going to use a finger space and I'm going to write the word to. We know how to spell to. It's a t and an a. Come to, and then my, do you remember the tricky word my? It's an and yeah. Come to my, and I'm remembering my finger spaces. Come to my pool. Can you chop up pool for me? P-oo-l, pool. Now I can't fit it in here, so I'm coming down here. P. Make sure you start all your letters at the top, boys and girls. Do you remember? Except for a d and an l. Not a d and an o, I'm going crazy. A d and an e, they're the ones that you start in the middle. P-oo-l. And then I need the word party. Should we try and sound that out? P-a-t-e. Now then, let's have a try at writing that down. Let's see. P. Do you remember the R sound? Say ah. It's an a and an pa. T. And now I need an E sound at the end of my speech, at the end of my speech bubble, the end of my word party. Now, do you remember when it's a word with two parts to it, two syllables, how do we write the E sound at the end? We talked about this a while ago. Do you remember? There's one letter that we can use, like in some of your friends' names, like Monty and Lily. Okay, what's that letter at the end? Can you think? It's yeah, let's write that in. Okay, come to my pool party. And he's shouting that over to the soup, to the veggies and the sweet potato. So I'm going to use an exclamation mark at the end, shouting stick. Come to my pool party. Now then, we know what happens, don't we? It's not a good pool party, is it? It's a pool full of jelly. And sweet potato gets stuck. So I'm going to write a speech bubble for sweet potato now. He's going to shout, help, I am stuck. Right, let's have a look. Okay, so I'm going to start with a capital letter again. Oh, I'm going to chop it up. O. Now he's shouting that, so I'm going to put a shouting stick. Help! Help! I. And then an am. And then down here I'm going to write, I'll move that back a bit so you can see. I can't fit it in here, so I'm going to go here. St. Oh. St. Oh. St. Oh. And I'm using the two at the end because it's the end of a word. Help! I am stuck. And another exclamation mark. See, it's easy peasy to write a speech bubble, isn't it? Because speech bubbles are usually short. You don't have lots and lots of writing in. And what you don't do, and this is the important bit to remember, in the speech bubble, you only write what the character is saying. What you don't do is put, come to my pool party, said the evil P. We don't need to write said the evil P because we know it's the evil P speaking because the bubble is coming out of his mouth. So we only write what the character says. Okay, I can't wait to see what you do today. I'm going to put that back. Now this activity is connected to Mrs. Petey's activity today because what she wants you to do is she wants you to write out your speech bubble and then put it next to your veggie that you did yesterday, or if you've drawn a picture, that's fine too. And she wants you to take a photograph of it. All right, so have a look at her activity. You need to do mine first, then do Mrs. Peters, because they're connected today. You're going to use technology to share what you've done with us. Right, good luck with your writing, everybody. And don't forget, make sure you read a book today because it's World Book Day. Right, I can't wait to see them. See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.